Every once in a while, one of these videos is just necessary. Well, thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today, gotta tell some truth. Some hard truth about the ACC and what's going to happen. Now, the reason I gotta make this video, because there's still quite a few people in my comments who they're not believers. They're not believers in what they're seeing. They're believers in what they feel. And no one cares about what you feel. First, what we really need to understand and have a little history lesson. Okay? Because I understand where you're coming from. I understand the trepidation. Oh, I get it. I'm a Big 12 fan. I've been there. I felt those feelings. I thought for sure the Big 12 was done. We were dead in the water. But we're not. And here's the reason. All right, Texas and OU announced they're leaving. The remaining 8 schools, think about it. Think about this. The remaining 8 schools called everybody. The SEC. They called the Big 10, the Pac-12. They called the ACC. Apparently they didn't have the value for the ACC. Said, not right now, we're good. Jim Phillips, appreciate it, but no thanks. Now think about this. If you're going to preemptively backfill, right? Cal, Stanford, SMU. Wouldn't you rather have TCU? And you could have had them. You could have had them, but the ACC just has a little bit of trouble being able to see things coming. I know it's hard to see around a corner. I know it's tough to predict the future. Keep in mind, Texas and OU just said they were going to the SEC. Moves like that, they don't happen very often. You know, in previous iterations of realignment, we've seen Texas A&M go someplace. We saw Nebraska go someplace. We saw the Big East do its thing, right? But when you have 2 stalwarts, people who control a conference, a whole conference, Blue Bloods, Texas, OU, they don't just run out of the conference that they run. That doesn't happen. UNC's been invited for years to go to the Big 10 or the SEC. Have they went? No, they didn't. Because that's their conference. They run it. Their state, the state of North Carolina, actually puts money into the ACC. I mean, when was the last time you heard about Ohio State or Michigan going someplace? You didn't. Same was true with USC out in the Pac-12, right? And of course they did leave. What happened to that conference? We all know. We all know. They were doomed because Oregon and Washington, the 2 biggest brands they had left, were not going to sign a new grant of rights. Not to that conference. Even if they didn't get the invite to the Big 10, they were never going to sign on the dotted line for the Pac-12. Wasn't going to happen. They would have stuck around for a new media rights deal whenever came, if they had said, okay, we'll be here. We'll agree to be here for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. But the problem is, they would never sign a grant of rights. And any media company out there was not going to give them what they wanted anywhere close to it without that assurance. That was the first thing that doomed them, but there was a second thing that doomed them, that screwed them totally. The Pac-12 was not able to coalesce together, because I heard that a lot from Pac-12 fans. Even if Oregon and Washington go, the rest of us, no one wants to go to your stupid little conference of the Big 12 without Texas and OU and you've backfilled with these G5s. No, we don't. No. BYU, are you kidding me? No. We're not coming. We'll put things back where they should be. We'll put some Mountain West team, well, San Diego State, whomever, and then we'll go get a new media rights deal and everything will be good. Wasn't good because there was no media rights deal that was going to pay you what the Big 12 got from ESPN and Fox. And the Big 12 was open for business. They were open to take teams. The same is true of the ACC. This is why you're not going to survive. You're going to go the same way that the Pac did. They prestigious conference, academically, athletically, been around over 100 years. I would argue maybe a little more prestigious than the ACC. If you think about a fully intact old school Pac-12 with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, the four corners. Oh yeah, Stanford, Cal. Academics, tippy top. Yes. Athletics, championships. Can't argue it. So, now we have to look at the ACC. And you're not looking at this thing through the lens of history. A lot of you ACC fans, not everybody, not all Pac-12 fans were raging buttholes back in, a couple of years ago. They weren't. Not all ACC fans are raging jerks. They're not. Some of y'all are really cool. Now, you're a little broke up about what's going on with your conference. But, you know who to blame. You know who to blame. Bad business decisions by the ACC. Horrible former commissioner, of course. So, and there's been upheaval before with the Big East. That really affected what was going on in the ACC, of course. So, y'all know the story. But there are some ACC fans out there that are just in complete denial. They're in complete denial of what's going on. They refuse to look at the Pac situation was way different. It's so different. We got a media rights deal to 2036. A media rights deal that sucks. That sucks. I get people throwing numbers at me. Oh, we're by 2030, we're going to be making $50-60 million a team. How's that? I don't know where you're pulling that number out of your ass. But as the ACC network starts to decline because of cord cutting, there goes a lot of your money. When Florida State and Clemson leave, how does that affect the ACC network? Oh, I think it affects it quite a bit. You're going to get a hell of a dip in that money. Not to mention you're going to lose some CFP money because the full share that Florida State and Clemson get from you guys, that money is going to go to the SEC or Big Ten. Not only that, those two conferences make more money. We're talking $46 million a year for two teams in the SEC out of the CFP. That money's coming out of your collective end of the CFP to cover them in the SEC. That's going to happen whether you like it or not. Because when those teams leave, here comes the look-in, and they're going to rearrange it. Because whoever gets those two schools out of the Big Two, they're not going to lose 1 cent adding them. They'll make sure of it. It's already in the contract. The look-in was put into the deal for you. For the ACC. Because everyone knows what's going on. The lawsuits have been settled. And now, in 2030, Florida State, Clemson, you think they can afford $75 million? Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Because here's the thing. We're going to coalesce. We're going to coalesce, right? Like the pack was going to coalesce. I'll give you this. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because it is going to be a fee to leave. Wasn't that fee to leave in the pack? Their media rights deal was done. The gore wasn't a thing. Wasn't going to screw anybody. So Utah, the Arizona schools, Colorado didn't pay shit. As a matter of fact, Colorado got a little bonus to go to the Big 12 from ESPN. If that tells you anything. That's how much ESPN valued the pack at that point. Now let's look at the ACC. Would ESPN be willing to throw out a bonus to Louisville? Maybe. Oh, they're going to lose all. They don't want to lose this content. They don't want to lose Florida State's content. They don't want to lose Clemson's content. Because see, they're trying to. Consolidation isn't just about conferences. It's also about media partners. It's about the money. Big 12's media rights is going to go up. Not everybody's going to make the cut. Oregon State and Washington State couldn't get into the Big 12. And it's not because the Big 12 didn't value those two brands. Yeah. Don't put that on Brett Yormark or Big 12 leadership for not adding them. Our media partners didn't want Oregon State and Washington State. Why? Why bring them in to the Big 12 and pay them $31.7 when you can just leave them there in the pack? They can either make Mountain West money, or they can rebuild the pack maybe $10 to $12 million a year. And that may very well be, the new pack deal may very well be with ESPN. They have a need or a want for more West Coast content and cheap West Coast content. So why pay those, the 31.7, when you're essentially saving what, about $21 million a year, $20 million a year? Not bringing in Oregon State and Washington State to the Big 12. That's why they're still in the pack. That's why. Look at the ACC. There's a lot of teams in the ACC. Especially now, a lot of teams. So how many of those teams does ESPN want to pay? How many of them do they want to pay in the SEC? Not many. How many do they want to pay to go to the Big 12? Well, there's a few. I mean, think about this. Y'all feel there's some kind of loftiness to the ACC. Virginia Tech, do they really have any value, more value than anybody within the Big 12? They don't. How about Virginia? We're not talking academics here. We're not talking the history of the university. We're talking value athletically to another conference. Does Virginia bring any more value than anybody, and I do mean anybody, in the Big 12? Houston? Okay. Cincinnati? Maybe. UCF? Okay. But those three at least have potential. UVA has been in the ACC forever. And I don't know. I know the valuations are pretty good for Virginia. I know they are. But are they really worth more than Kansas to a conference? No, they're not. Pitt, Syracuse, Boston College, Wake Forest, they're no more valuable than anybody in the Big 12. You may be able to make a case for Miami being a little more top shelf than anybody in the Big 12. Florida State and Clemson, pretty obvious. What about UNC? Are they really more valuable than anybody? Do they have more? I mean, brand value. I can see them maybe a step above Kansas in brand value, maybe a little bit. The Jordan brand does make a difference there. I can see that, but the Jayhawks also have a huge brand. Let's don't act like they don't. Are they maybe a little bit more of a brand than TCU? Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see UNC making a case for some school. Kansas maybe a little bit more. But it's not, they're not so far above everybody. I mean, people talk about UNC like it's Georgia. Like it's Alabama or Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. UNC is not that. Nor have they ever been. Because all of those schools I just talked about have won multiple championships throughout their histories. Sometimes they're down, other times they're up. And when they're up, they're on the tippy top. But that's football success. Basketball success is fantastic. Nothing wrong with it. But what's worth more, to be a blue blood in football or basketball? The answer is obvious, people. The answer is very, very obvious. And then you hear this desperate argument. Well, the media rights deal for the Big 12 is up in 2031. We can go get some of your schools. Why would they come to your bullshit without Florida State, without Clemson? I mean, remember, we didn't have the value for the ACC before. None of these schools did. You telling me now we do? Now Kansas has the value for the ACC. Now TCU or Texas Tech have the value for you? No. They're not going to do that. You're in a stable conference. We know we got solid media rights partners. You don't know that. What's that going to look like in 2036? Because I'm not saying that the entire conference is going to die in 2030. Maybe. Could. There's ways it could happen. But I don't think it will. I think you'll lose more schools than you're willing to admit. And I'm not talking all to the SEC or all to the Big 10. I'm talking to the Big 12. Oh, yeah. That shit's going to happen. And you'll be over there just shocking and awing. Oh, I can't believe... What? Numbskull News was right. Yeah. Because we've seen it before. And would Colorado have paid money if they had to pay money to get the hell out of there? Or Arizona? Yes. They would have. Or ESPN would have paid it for them. Because ESPN wants to consolidate this shit. People always talk about the Big Ten and the SEC cutting the fat. Get Vanderbilt out of there. Get Purdue out of there. The fat that's going to get trimmed is in the ACC. And I hate to put it that way for some of these smaller schools, but that's what's going to happen because we've seen ESPN do it before. Just look at Oregon State and Washington State. It's already happened. It's a perfect example. Prestigious conference. Power 5. Now we're down to Power 4. We're going to a Power 3 world. Oh, what happens when the Big 12... Nothing's going to happen to the Big 12. We're going to be allowed to exist because schools like Virginia Tech, schools like Georgia Tech, schools like NC State and Louisville have value for ESPN and other media rights partners. And I'm not talking on a $10 million a year $15 million a year, $20 million a year level, well above it. Do they have the value for the SEC or the Big Ten with those monster contracts? And when they re-up those contracts, will they be even bigger? No, they don't have that value. A tier down, yes. And that's a valuable commodity for these media rights partners to be involved in that secondary market, if you want to put it that way. Not on the top level, but right underneath it. And the Big 12 eventually will be the biggest conference because there's a lot of teams out there that have similar value, have similar resources and capabilities of a Texas Tech or a Kansas, a TCU, a Utah, a BYU that reside in the ACC. It's not a lot of the top shelf guys, but there's a lot of that secondary market, tier 2, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of those type of schools. And they're going to come to the Big 12, where they belong. And then your Oregon State and Washington State type of schools. And these are schools that don't even have the viewership of Oregon State and Washington State. Remember that shit. They don't even have the viewership. Nowhere near it. They're going to get cast aside. Reform a new ACC like the Pac-12's doing now. No autonomous status. No blue bloods. Hell, no tier 2s in that group. Whatever schools are left from the ACC, the coaches are going to go to higher ground. They're going to be gone. You're going to lose your recruits. Nope, ain't playing there. We're going to go find someplace else to go. Just like what happened with Oregon State and Washington State. And more than likely, you peckers that want to doubt this stuff, be in your denial. Sorry, you have nothing. It's going to happen again. And I'm going to enjoy watching it. Not for those people who were just honest ACC fans, honest fans of whatever team, and want to see what's best for their team and would like to see something good happen for the conference. I'm not rooting for it for you guys. But for you deniers, oh yeah, I'm going to rub this shit in. Oh, you're going to make a video if it doesn't happen? I would. But let's be real. Shit's happening. It's going to happen. I'll be live for days. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, guys. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.